Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, April 26th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. San Diegans once again have three options when it comes to getting a coronavirus vaccination. The pause on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is officially over. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman explains.
Dr. Christian Ramers with Family Health Centers of San Diego estimates they have several thousand doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccines ready to go.
Yes, we are basically green light as of today to start reusing the J&J as we were before.
About 2 weeks ago, federal regulators paused J&J's use after rare reports of blood clotting in some women.
There's debate about whether the pause was the right thing to do. What can be said is certainly this is the most transparent process I've ever seen. So
part of that process includes a new warning for the vaccine.
Really straight to the science, what is your risk? This is a very rare complication.
The J&J vaccine does not require a deep freeze, and it's just one dose as opposed to two.
We all acknowledge that there are certain populations where this is just a better fit. People that are homebound and really can't make a follow-up appointment, people that are homeless.
The vaccine's versatility means firefighter crews have also been using it to vaccinate residents in hard-to-reach areas. All part of the county's goal to have 75% of San Diegans 16 and over vaccinated come summer.
Well, then that's a big number still. I think we still have quite a ways to go. If you look at the county dashboard, every day we gain another couple percent.
Raymer says the J&J vaccine will help us reach herd immunity faster. And while demand is still very high for vaccinations, that could be changing soon.
Well, I have to say, I think we're really getting close. And I heard over the weekend, it used to be there were thousands of arms searching for hundreds of vaccines. And now we have thousands of vaccines searching for thousands of arms. So it's almost like we're right at that tipping point where supply is about to be more than demand.
County health officials say they have about 12,000 J&J doses that will now start to be used. And through the state's My Turn booking system, people can see what vaccine is available before getting an appointment. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And the pace of U.S. COVID-19 vaccinations may start to slow down. While most Americans who wanted to get their shot have now gotten it, there's another big hurdle to overcome. Isabel Rosales breaks down the plan to get more shots in arms and the new mask guidance expected this week.
1 in 4 Americans is now fully vaccinated, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Health experts believe we'll see the pace of vaccinations slow down.
I think that it's going to be slower, but I think we're going to continue to get there.
Vaccine hesitancy is proving to be an obstacle. The CDC says a growing number of Americans, about 8%, is missing their scheduled second dose.
I think some people are getting a little bit frightened by some of the talk and, quite frankly, some of the misinformation.
A new poll taken while the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine was on hold, but released Monday, found 73% of unvaccinated respondents did not want to take J&J's shot. The vaccine is now back in use. In India, a COVID crisis.
The one thing I can tell you, it's very, very serious what's going on.
The country reported Sunday the highest single-day number of cases recorded anywhere in the world for the 5th straight day.
Even though we're doing very well in this country, there's always the threat of a variant that originated someplace else coming back to our country.
The U.S. will now send India much-needed oxygen supplies, testing kits, and PPE. Back in the U.S., new CDC guidance is expected this week on wearing masks outdoors for fully vaccinated Americans.
The data indicate that the risk, particularly outside, if you're masked, is very, very low. So let's see what the guidelines say. They have been long anticipated, actually.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
San Diego is getting closer to its goal of 75% vaccination. Coming up, a local doctor answers questions about COVID-19 risks after inoculation. Following the downtown San Diego shooting that killed one person and injured four, the San Diego Police Department is sounding the alarm about the increase of ghost guns they're encountering on the streets. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more.
It was a ghost gun or unserialized firearm. That about 1 in 4 of every gun that we're recovering right now is a ghost gun.
Ghost guns, easy to buy and untraceable. San Diego Police Chief David Nislight says San Diego County has seen a 169% rise in ghost guns in 2020 and says this year is on track to surpass last year's numbers. As local law enforcement combats the rise of guns on the streets, lawmakers continue to make efforts to control the selling of ghost guns. Just this month, President Joe Biden introduced a series of executive orders to limit the selling of ghost guns, following the deadly Colorado and Atlanta shootings. However, local gun advocate and executive director of San Diego Gun Owners, Michael Schwartz, says adding more restrictive laws won't solve the problem at hand.
Executive order, what he's hoping to do is create laws regarding home manufactured firearms that mirror California laws to spread them to the other 49 states. But again, I think what the chief of police in San Diego is showing is that those laws that already exist in California aren't making a difference. Criminals don't follow laws by definition.
In California, it is illegal to have a ghost gun or manufactured gun that has not been registered with the Department of Justice. The DOJ requires self-made firearms to have a unique serial number.
We really need to do things like figure out ways to stop and prevent criminals from committing crimes rather than chipping away at the edges and trying to make metal illegal, which is in effect what they're trying to do.
San Diego police say the individuals they are coming across with ghost guns are convicted felons with past criminal history, just like the gunman from Thursday night's shooting in the Gaslamp Quarter. According to new data released from SDPD, so far this year, 52 convicted felons have been arrested for being in possession of a firearm, compared to 154 people in 2020. In 2020, SDPD impounded 1,734 firearms. 210 of those were ghost guns. As of April 1st of this year, a total of 492 guns have been impounded, and 111 of those are ghost guns. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
The effort to recall Governor Gavin Newsom has enough signatures to qualify for the ballot. California Secretary of State Shirley Weber's office announced today that 1.6 million signatures had been verified. That's about 100,000 more than needed to force a vote. Former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer and Caitlyn Jenner are among the Republicans running to replace Newsom. For the first time in its 170-year history, the state of California is losing a U.S. House seat. Population data released today by the Census Bureau shows that while California is still by far one of the most populous states in the country, House delegation is dropping from 53 to 52. Even though population has grown by 2.3 million since the last census 10 years ago, it's been largely flat since 2017. The loss of the House seat could mean less federal funding for Medi-Cal, as well as less money for things like schools, social services, and some infrastructure. The latest report on homelessness in San Diego found a troubling trend, an increase twice the size than in 2020. KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us what else was discovered.
The report from the Regional Task Force on the Homeless shows the number of people entering homelessness for the first time nearly doubled from 2,326 in 2019 and peaked from April through June 2020 with 4,152. The report says this is likely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but Michael McConnell, a homeless advocate, thinks this number is higher for another reason.
The increase in touch points. So if you put more outreach people, if you have more day centers or more shelters, things like that, you're gonna connect with more people.
When the San Diego Convention Center opened for temporary housing during the pandemic, city officials boasted about the number of homeless people served. McConnell said the homeless were more open to participating in this program.
When you lower the barriers, when you make it more appealing to somebody, then you're going to get people who are more likely to use your system.
The report also found 2,530 veterans were in a shelter or had been on the street. Mia Roseberry, co-founder of Wounded Warrior Homes, knows the need for veterans and even active duty military has grown.
The veterans will never ask for help. They feel that if they ask for help, they are taking it from other people. So they don't like to ask for help.
With the report, San Diego County is showing more transparency about the current homeless situation.
Keep supporting those who are trying to support the less fortunate and the people who need the help.
Increased funding from the federal government through the CARES Act, state funds, and philanthropic funding are continuing to provide new resources for shelter and other assistance during the pandemic. Melissa May, KPBS News.
The Justice Department is opening an investigation into the Louisville Police Department. This comes 1 year after officers shot and killed 26-year-old Breonna Taylor during a raid at her home. A no-knock warrant was approved as part of a drug investigation, but no drugs were found. Attorney General Merrick Garland says the DOJ will assess whether Louisville police engage in a pattern of unconstitutional practices like stops, searches, and seizures,
as well as whether the department unlawfully executes search warrants on private homes. It will also assess whether LMPD engages in discriminatory conduct on the basis of race or fails to provide public services that comply with the Americans with Disability Act.
Last week, Garland announced an investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department following the murder of George Floyd last year. It has been almost 10 years since the mysterious death of 32-year-old Rebekah Zahau at the Spreckles Mansion in Coronado. A judge recently agreed to hear arguments in a lawsuit the family has filed against the San Diego Sheriff's Department for documents that they believe will open a new investigation. Now, New York Times bestselling author and San Diego local Caitlin Rother has released a new book detailing the circumstances surrounding the death and what went on behind the scenes. A warning: the subject matter discusses suicide, which may be difficult for some viewers. Caitlin Rother, welcome. You mention in your book that this case became all-encompassing for you, and each time that you tried to walk away, something would pull you back in. Why do you think the story in particular kept calling to you?
It's like a puzzle that I just need to finish. I mean, who leaves a half-finished puzzle sitting on the dining room table? You want to finish it. You want to put that very last piece in there. Well, what is so different about this case is, in many people's minds, it's unresolved.
Does this book fill in some information that was elusive to the public?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I'm one of those people who's like, why is this? Why is that? So, I mean, I'm following my own instincts. I'm asking the same questions that many other people have, and I go even deeper because I know how to find the information. So what's in the book is stuff that I thought was credible or that was of interest to readers. And in some cases, some people said things that I didn't think were true, and I want the readers to be able to hear that for themselves so they can make their own decisions.
What was the experience like for you from your vantage point and your proximity to the salient information?
This case is still happening in real time, and there are people who have secrets that they want to protect. They have private stories that they don't want to tell. So I did my best to be responsible. I don't have a dog or pony or any other animal in this race. I just wanted to tell the truth about what happened. And that's why I didn't take a position on whether I think it's murder or suicide. A lot of people have asked me that. And I still don't really know. I mean, I have some personal opinions that I'm just not going to share, though, because that's not a winning situation for me. And I just prefer to stay objective and tell the facts and tell the evidence and tell what I know and what I learned.
And police said that their findings were the result of methodical investigative work and science. But so many experts disagreed then, and they continue to disagree now. Have these opinions pretty much stayed the same?
What Sheriff Gore told me was that he was actually one of the very last people to agree with the suicide scenario because he wanted to wait for the toxicology reports to come back. And when he saw that there were no drugs in her body, then clearly she wasn't drugged or coerced into this. She must have committed suicide. But, this review that they did during the campaign and then took them 9 months safely after Gore was reelected, the Zahaus and their attorneys say this was just a campaign ploy. It was so superficial. They didn't re-interview anyone. They didn't interview anyone new. And they didn't, test or retest items that had mixed DNA profiles with still some unidentified DNA on some of the items that were tested. They also did not retest with more modern technology some of the items that had insufficient DNA back, in 2011. So, there are a lot of people who've looked at this case from the outside and have said there are flaws in the investigation, there are holes in the investigation, and there was some problems with the methodology of the collection of the DNA. So, there's still room in this case to look deeper and to look further. However, the bottom line is, at the moment, the forensic evidence that they've collected does not meet, or, the interviews they said they've done, does not meet a criminal threshold.
What do you hope that the release of this book might inspire?
I'd like to think that once people know more of the facts and once people get to know the characters in this story better, that maybe they will change their minds about something that they thought based on the wrong information or too little information or not following science, And I do think it would be great if another agency took another look and looked at some things that the Sheriff's Department didn't.
Caitlin Rother, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And a virtual book tour series with Caitlin Rother kicks off tomorrow night with the San Diego Public Library. You must register for one of the events by going to caitlinrother.com/blog. And from there, you can find a link to register for one of the virtual events. And if you or someone you know needs help, free and confidential support is available on the number on your screen. Over 50% of San Diego County's eligible adult population has now received at least the first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer looks at how receiving a partial or full vaccination changes COVID-19 risks and infection rates.
Now that over half of San Diego adults have received at least their first COVID-19 vaccine shot, another question arises. What does it mean to be fully vaccinated against the novel coronavirus? Dr. Rodney Hood has been at the forefront of the county's effort to vaccinate San Diegans. He says risks for infection still exist, but they will continue to go down as more people get their shots.
Yes, it is possible that you can still get exposed and get the COVID infection, but it's usually very mild. So far, those that have been fully vaccinated have been shown to have no significant hospitalizations and no death.
Hood says it's also important to note that those who have gotten the vaccine are far less likely to spread COVID-19 to others, even if they have the virus in their system.
Being vaccinated also markedly decreases the risk of transmitting asymptomatic disease because the viral load is so low. So even if you did get infected, transmitting it becomes much less.
However, there is concern that as time goes on, some COVID variants could evade the current vaccines. Hood says booster shots might be coming in the fall that will provide further protection.
We now know that the immunity that you get is very good up to 6 months and probably longer. How much longer, we don't know. Estimation is 9 to 12 months. So some are speculating that at that period of time, a booster shot may be necessary.
San Diego County's current goal is to fully vaccinate 75% of its population to reach herd immunity, which Hood expects to happen by late fall. If the variants become a problem, he says it might take a higher percentage. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Americans who have been fully vaccinated will be allowed to visit Europe this summer. That's what the president of the European Commission told the New York Times. No specific timeline was offered on when exactly tourist travel to the European Union might open up. Because of Brexit, the UK is no longer a part of the EU, so it's not clear if Americans would be welcomed there. If you haven't been fully vaccinated yet, we have more information about how and where to get your shot at kpbs.org. Just go to our homepage and then click on the Vaccines tab. So far, so good for NASA's Ingenuity helicopter. The space agency is celebrating another successful flight on Mars. Technology developed by San Diego's Qualcomm is powering this project. A camera attached to one of the Mars rovers caught part of the takeoff and landing on Sunday. This is the second flight for the helicopter, traveling about 165 feet over the planet's surface. San Diego-based researchers used underwater vehicles to map an area near Catalina Island that may contain more than 27,000 deteriorating barrels of industrial waste. As KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson tells us, many may contain the banned pesticide DDT.
The expedition mapped more than 36,000 acres of the seabed between Catalina Island and Long Beach. The underwater vehicles found more than 100,000 debris objects on the seafloor in the San Pedro Basin. A quarter of those were deteriorating barrels. Scripps researcher Eric Terrell says it's the first time for an underwater mapping project of this scope.
Really kind of the first of its kind, really kind of pulling back the covers to see really what's been lying under the seabed here for decades.
The area was a notorious dumping ground for industrial waste. Shipping logs indicate more than 2,000 barrels of DDT-laced sludge were dumped there every month for more than 14 years. Scripps researcher Sophia Merrifield says the dump is more than twice the size of the island of Manhattan.
We were able to classify 27,000 of those as barrel-like. And the extent of the detects was really widespread, and there were distinct patterns in those detects.
Those patterns reveal how ships dumped waste as they moved over the site. Terrell's team is working with the data they collected in March in hopes that it could lead to an action plan to deal with the underwater dumping site. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Wet weather continues through the overnight hours with showers lingering into Tuesday. And up in the mountains, snow levels will be lowering down to about 5,000 feet or so. There could be a little bit of snow. And then get ready. End of the week, strong warming trend, and it's going to get very warm. Temperatures well above average for the end of the week, and maybe rivaling some records. Well, the wind's still strong into tonight. Still some wind advisories in the high country through the midnight hour. Looking at our temperatures tonight here in San Diego, in the metro area, 58 the low with a lot of clouds in the area. And Oceanside's down to about 50. El Cajon 54, Escondido 52. Ramona's down to 47. Mount Laguna's down to 31. The futurecast looks pretty busy overnight tonight. Look at all the showers around. And then as we take you into the day tomorrow, we'll see the return of some showers with cold air aloft. We'll see a little snow up in the high country too. So here's a look at our weather scenario for Tuesday. Trough sliding eastward, and we'll still see a few showers, that cold air aloft, especially in the higher terrain. Forecast high 64, Oceanside 65 in San Diego. Ramona's at 57, but Mount Laguna's only 38, and Borrego Springs 73. As the trough moves away Wednesday into Thursday, temperatures will really start to rise with high pressure for the end of the week. So here's our extended forecast for you. Looks nice on Wednesday and then warmer Thursday and Friday. Inland sections will be up to 87 Thursday and up to 91 on Friday. We could be getting close to some record territory here. In the mountains, look at the warm up, upper 60s Friday and into Saturday and in the deserts. It's going to get hot. Temperatures in the triple digits Friday and Saturday. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
The Padres have bragging rights over the Dodgers for the next couple of months after winning an extra innings thriller. Fernando Tatis Jr. hit his 5th home run of the series. The Padres were down 6 runs late in the game, but put together an epic rally. San Diego now leads the season series 4-3, and they will play the Dodgers again in June. Up next is a game tomorrow night in Arizona. Broadway San Diego is coming back. The 44th season of shows set to return this November with fan favorites such as Hairspray. The season will also include Grammy and Tony Award musical The Band's Visit, as well as Rent, Tootsie, and so many other top musicals and performances. For a list of all the show dates and times and tickets, go to BroadwaySD.com. It was a historic night at the Oscars as a record 17 trophies went to women. David Daniel has the highlights from the 93rd Academy Awards.
Ha! Boom! Live TV. Here we go.
The 2021 Oscars had a few stumbles and surprises, like nominee Glenn Close doing debut as part of a trivia challenge. Some wins were expected, like Daniel Kaluuya taking Best Supporting Actor for Judas and the Black Messiah. Kaluuya paid tribute to the man he played, Black Panthers leader Fred Hampton.
What a man. How blessed we are that we lived in a lifetime where he existed. Do you know what I'm saying?
There were several firsts. Yoo Jung-yoon from Minari won Best Supporting Actress, the first Korean actress to win an acting Oscar.
We became a family, and most of all, above all, Lee Isaac Chung. Without him, I couldn't be here tonight.
Mia Neal and Jamaica Wilson were among the hair and makeup winners for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, the first black women even nominated in the category.
And I know that one day it won't be unusual or groundbreaking. It will just be normal.
I'm not leaving my flat.
Anthony Hopkins didn't make it to Hollywood to accept his Best Actor Oscar for The Father. At 83, he's the oldest acting winner in Academy history.
Nomadland.
The night's big winner was Nomadland. Chloe Zhao and Frances McDormand were double winners, McDormand winning her third Best Actress trophy.
We give this one to our wolf.
Zhao becoming just the second woman ever to win Best Director and the first woman of color, and both women sharing in the Best Picture Oscar.
This is for anyone who has the faith and the courage to hold on to the goodness in themselves and to hold on to the goodness in each other.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And this is for you.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a good evening.
Made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.